All right, folks, welcome to episode 37 of the What the Futures podcast. I've got David Lea joining me today. We're going to talk about this old crop, new crop transition. We're going to talk about your 2023 crop marketing highlight. You have to send those in to me, folks. Please send in your 2023 crop marketing highlight. I'm also going to talk about the canola market and why it might be cool from a marketing perspective next year. Lots of stuff this episode. You got 2 episodes this week. One now, one in a couple days. Double trouble. Let's get after it. Hey, folks. Welcome to the What the Futures podcast, where we break down complex market trends into simple, actionable advice. It's your quick guide to better farming decisions. Hey folks, welcome to episode 37 of the What the Futures podcast. Of course, back in studio this week in the UPL studio. Again, folks, had a great time at Egg in Motion a couple weeks ago. Finally got organized this week. Got the studio back in shape here just a little bit. Even picked up a little find here in Rostern, Saskatchewan when I was on vacation. It's a copper bull. I need to hang it somewhere in the studio, but maybe a good sign here of things to come for grain markets. Hey, hang this up somewhere in the studio. Maybe it'll bring us some good luck here for marketing the 2024 crop. I've got a packed show here once again, spending most of our time with David Lea of Marketplace Commodities. Of course, What the Futures podcast is your weekly dose of clarity in the complex world of crop marketing. Was super complex last week. It even had me sitting here being a little bit confused, not confused, maybe a little bit more hopeful when it came to the canola market. So it certainly taught me a lesson by Friday and, of course, Monday. I'm your host, Ryan Denis. I've worked with farmers across Western Canada as a grain marketing buyer, advisor, analyst. I've worked with a team of advisors as well, led a team for a couple of years there. Of course, I've taken What the Futures on the road here. This has been going on since November. And so we're in the last quarter here of getting to the last quarter of our podcast year and starting to plan some fun stuff for the winter as well. Like I said, I've got David Lea. We're going to spend the bulk of the episode with him. I wanted to get David on before the end of the crop marketing year. So it's the end of July. You're getting this episode likely on July 31st. We're closing the books on old crop and we're opening up the book for new crop. And I wanted to chat about a few different things with David because, of course, we're hearing that farmers across the prairies are carrying some grain over, carrying canola over. They're carrying some barley over. You know, wheat, there's not much of a surprise there. Shouldn't be carrying over much for peas or for green peas. But we are kind of moving on here into the next marketing year. And harvest is on for some of you as well. Some of you tuning in. It's either happening or days away in the southern parts of the prairies. Like, it's go time here, folks. It is go time. So I wanted to start off the episode with a question, okay? And my question is, and I really hope you participate. I really do. This is about positivity. And of course, the show, we try to be as positive as we can, even when markets are on the decline. But what is your favorite crop marketing moment from 2023, from the 2023 crop? What is your favorite marketing moment? What is something that you pulled off that makes you smile just a little bit? Maybe it's on the farm business side, you know, but something positive that happened from for you and your farm here for the 23 crop. Comment, you know, go to YouTube, throw your comment in there. I'll tag this question there. Go to Twitter, X. You know, if you don't want to be that outspoken or out there, then why don't you just email me at ryan@whatthefuturespodcast.ca. I won't read them out loud in the next episode unless you want me to. But what was your favorite crop marketing moment from the 23 crop? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear the positive stuff that you guys did over the last year, because you did a bunch of cool things. And there's a bunch of great things that you need to highlight. And you have to take a little bit of pride in that as well. Okay. I know it was a tough year marketing. Now, if you want to know what mine are, because I'm going to share anyway. I'm going to share. And so, because I can look at it like three different ways. We've got the farm stuff. I've got my consulting stuff. And then even the podcast stuff as well. Because the podcast stuff and the consulting stuff can be similar, but the podcast is not as specific. So let's start with the podcast. And so my crop marketing highlight, and to my core, with the 23 crop was that you could not move it fast enough. It was sell that crop. Keep selling that darn crop, the 23 crop. And then, of course, we got to a point where it had fallen so far that, we were waiting for spring rallies and stuff like that to happen. But for the most part, I stuck to my plan. I shouldn't say for the most part. I stuck to my plan. I was bearish this crop the entire time. And it cost me a little bit on the green peas. But other than that, it was a good thing, or the right thing. I also did presentations in the later part of winter, and I just did a handful, and they weren't great presentations. Like, they were good presentations. I think I'm a decent presenter, but everyone felt deflated after the presentation, talking about markets and crop marketing plan and execution, and folks felt a little bit deflated. But I did give hope in that you would see rallies in the spring of 2024 that would make 2024 and 2025 not as bad as they could be from a financial perspective, because you would get a chance to sell a bunch of 24 crop and some 25 crop. And, that it didn't take a rocket scientist to sit there and say, oh, spring is when weather happens and weather can cause markets to move higher. That's what happened. But the presentations I put out there, those of you that went to those meetings and listened to that, I had a few come into Egg in Motion into the UPL booth and say, Ryan, you were bang on. So I'm pretty proud of those as well. Because as marketing guys, as marketing analysts or people or whatever I am, it's when you get one right, it's nice, because I get like 10 wrong and then one right one. So it's good. From the consulting side, I took 2 years off, basically 2 years off from consulting and working directly with farmers. But that didn't stop people from reaching out to me and asking questions. And even a few people saying, hey, Ryan, I know you're not in the game at the moment, but could you come for a coffee and just talk us through? We're struggling. We're lacking confidence here. We don't know what to do. Can we buy you a cup of coffee? And, I went to a farm meeting, had a very expensive cup of coffee, I suppose, or maybe really cheap, depending on how you want to look at it. But I sat with a farm, a great family farm, and this was back in like November. Yeah, November. And we just sold. We made huge sales. I remember the wheat sale was $9.65 a bushel. And that price did not get back to that level. We delivered that all in December when the weather was nice. And the price didn't get back to that level until the spring. It got back there, but that wheat was long gone and paying bills. We sold all the malt barley. We sold a bunch of canola. And we just sat there, and I looked at the farm and I just said, hey, I know this was just a cup of coffee, but this is my perspective. This is what I'm seeing and looking at. Take it for what it's worth. They ended up executing, and again, you couldn't sell enough, right? You just couldn't really sell enough. It's the type of year it was. So that was cool. That was a cup of coffee that was I don't know if we had over $1 million in sales that day. I should actually do the math. We probably did. But yeah, paid dividends for sure. And then for the farm, our wheat marketing was pretty strong here this last year. The guys executed really, really well. And, we, for the 23 crop, we didn't really sit on our hands very much. We were fairly aggressive at moving it. But even when we had a little bit of inventory left, we were able to capture that upside. And I thought the guys did a nice job executing on the wheat sales there. And then, of course, we got some 24 sales in the, started scaling those up in the mid 8s all the way into the mid 9s. That's going to pay dividends for sure. And then even got some 2023 business, 2025 business written up with G3. Fall of 2025, we've got that good start as well. So just wheat marketing in general. Again, we don't know how 2024 is going to turn out. And in 2025, we really don't know, right? It's not behind us yet. But I felt with the farm, that was certainly our highlight for crop marketing. So what's your favorite crop marketing moment? And please share it with the show, Ryan at whatthefuturespodcast.ca. That is my email address. All right, you can hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on all the podcast platforms. We're out there. I also send a weekly email just highlighting the episode. So stay up to date by subscribing. Subscribe to YouTube, subscribe on the website, and or on your favorite podcast platform. And tell your friends and neighbors as well. If you're enjoying the show, share it with them. Now let's turn it over here to our show sponsor, John Deere. I had a chance to interview multiple people at Ag in Motion. And for this episode, I'm going to talk to Jonathan about the new combines from John Deere. So, of course, folks, you can book those new machines starting on August 1st, 2024. You can check everything out at johndeere.ca. But let's go to my interview here with Jonathan, and let's learn about these new combines. All right, folks, What the Future's podcast on location here at Ag in Motion. John Deere's booth is absolutely stellar. Of course, John Deere supports the What the Future's podcast, and we appreciate that. I've got Jonathan joining me. Jonathan, where are you from, man?
I'm from Rosetown, Saskatchewan.
Hey, not too far
from here. Not too far from here at all, actually. Really close.
And you're the combine expert, hey?
For Canada, yes, sir. So I live in Saskatoon and cover Western Canada for combine.
Perfect. All right. So behind us we have the S7 900. Let's talk about this combine. What's new? What's different?
So for model year 25, we've got the whole new S7 lineup, actually. So S7 600. 700, 800, and 900 machines. Okay. So full new portfolio rechange for model year 25 and forward. Some really exciting new features on the S7. So big one is obviously going to be our updated electrical architecture. So getting this machine ready for autonomy moving forward. That's something everybody talks about. It's not far away. But a couple other nice changes to this machine. So the 800 and the 900, like you see behind us, has our new John Deere 13.6 liter engine. Okay. So a really nice change. Same motor that we're offering in our 9RXs or our 9 series tractors, and the X9 that we see behind us as well.
Lots of power there.
Lots of power.
Nice.
Some
Farmers
fuel
like that.
Exactly. Some fuel savings with that as well.
Yep.
So 10% better fuel than our previous model with that new 13.6 as well too. Other couple of nice changes with this machine. We've gone for a mechanically driven residue system or tailboard behind. So we have that as an option for customers to select. So as we get into our tough threshing small grains crops, which Canada's known for, some efficiency savings there with processing our residue and some improvements in choice for our customers there as well too.
Okay, awesome.
Another big one, cross auger shutoff and our pivoting and loading auger spout on the 7 is an option from factory. Okay. So giving everybody just that much control. And my favorite feature is obviously the introduction of the new cap. So same cap that's going to be on our X9, massaging seat, heated, cooled, same operator experience. Really nice updates to the S7.
We should have recorded this in the cab probably with the massager on. Okay.
It's quite nice actually.
Awesome. And so this is for 2025. This is when these will come out. And so growers today, they can go to the dealership and put their orders down?
So starting August 1st, we have our order program opening up for all of our model year 25 offerings. So that's our X9, our S7, and the team we have behind us here. So, really nice changes. I guess the only other thing we haven't really talked about is the technology of these new combines. So on S and on X series machines, it's the same across the board. We've got our new offerings of our predictive ground speed automation. Okay. So we're taking ground speed control to the next level by looking out in front of the cutter bar. So with cameras or stereo cameras, we're actually going to scan the crop out in front to understand what is lodged, what is already cut and what is standing.
Okay.
And we pair that alongside of a predictive yield map, so an NDVI imagery map in the display to truly give you a predictive feed rate control of the combine. So now we can maintain throughput of this machine to max numbers all throughout the day.
Okay, so my mind's a bit blown here by this. Is this brand spanking new, or has this been out there already?
No, this is new for model year 25 as well.
Wow. Okay, we're going to have to do another feature on just that at some point, because there's a lot going on there. Awesome.
There's a lot of time.
Wow, okay. Okay, so we've got the T, T6, we've got the S7, we've got an X9. Anything else you want to talk about on all these three models?
So, no, really exciting, I guess, full portfolio offering from John Deere.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever combine size that you're offering. So really got an option for every style of farm out there, whether that's your performance groups 10 and 11, the big offering with the X9,
Yep.
whether straw quality is of really importance to you, and we want to come in with a T-Series offering as well.
Yep.
And then ultimately with our classes, our performance group 6s through 9s, the updated S7. So that mixed with technology is just trying to offer customers a choice to whatever needs their operation fits. We have an offering for them.
That's what we like. We got lots of different growers out there, so that's great. All right, folks, this is What the Future's from Ag in Motion at the John Deere booth. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, I had a great time. The John Deere booth was absolute chaos when I was there recording, but the team there was great. The guys were good, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. All right, so housekeeping for this week, not much. Harvest here is upon us, and so I'm going to get a playlist going on YouTube here. So look for that in the next week or so. I'm going to work on that. Other than that, folks, I don't really have a lot for housekeeping. The podcast video is going to get a little bit of a, just a few things tweaked and changed on it. We've got some different lights coming, things like that. Nothing major, but, I was chatting with with Yvonne, who helps me with branding and is a big part of, all the things we're doing here. And, she said, September 1st, people tend to get their life organized. And it feels like I'm in that mode right now, trying to get a bunch of different things organized here. And there's still summer. I've got some vacation coming up yet in August. But forward thinking, we're already planning stuff for the winter and seeing what events we're going to attend and stuff like that. So that's about it for housekeeping this week, folks. Again, we had that great turnout for the Bellevue Care Home fundraiser. That was great. Raised some really good funds there. And appreciate everyone that bid on that. Now, positive moments for the week. I'm going to keep it to one. Because I don't think I mentioned yet, but this is a double episode week. So I wanted to try to clean up old crop. And I shorted you guys an episode a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to clean up old crop. And then Friday. So this one, you're probably listening to it Wednesday, Thursday. Next one will go out as per usual Friday, and you're probably listening to it Friday, Saturday type thing. But I'm trying to switch old crop to new crop. So old crop, put it behind us, focus in on some new crop stuff. So double episode week. So again, the regular one will come out on Friday. So positive moment for this episode is the full pull. All right. My family was in Bruno, and my uncles. They all of a sudden, I don't know if it's 10 years ago now, but they kind of got into, these antique John Deere tractors, and my uncle's got some different ones as well. But they got into these tractor pulls, and it's not something that I grew up around as a kid. I remember going to tractor pulls, but I don't remember our family participating. But now the old boys in the Denis family they're tractor pullers. They're going to all these different events. They got trucks and trailers and tractors and tools and everything to keep everything running. And it's just like the NASCAR of our farm now. And so anyways, Uncle Daniel is out there in Bruno just kicking butt. All right. He's got the full pull going on. I think my brother said 4 or 5 of them. And so congratulations, Uncle Daniel, for doing your thing out there in Bruno. And then my dad was out there with his couple of tractors. I believe my brother-in-law was on one as well. and just doing a heck of a job. I think one of my dad's tractors, one of his pulls actually broke apart the sled. So I don't know if you get extra points for that or not, but yeah, it was a big week of tractor pulling here for the Denis family. So good on you, Uncle Daniel. Congrats on the full pulls there. All right. Okay, so next segment here. Again, we're making crop marketing cool. And so this segment I introduced a couple weeks ago, but what is cool in crop marketing this week? And it's something that is it's not happening in front of our eyes quite yet. And it's actually not that cool because it's going to have a financial impact on farms. So it's not cool in the sense because we're going to see yield loss in canola, right? With the heat that we had, the lack of moisture. Hey, maybe we're pleasantly surprised. But what I think is cool in crop marketing right now is that the canola carryover, which is expected to climb next year. So we're going to technically carry over more canola next summer than this summer. So if this year's number is, I think I saw a 2.5 million ton carryover number. And then next year they were thinking like 3 million tons or something like that. What may be happening here, in my opinion, is that we might be in a situation now where production drops enough and prices are low enough where we start to actually eat into that carryover a little bit. So instead of it climbing from 2.5, let's say hypothetical numbers, to 3, it might actually go from 2.5 to 2.4 or 2.3 or even hold steady. So it might not be as bearish into next year. Now, the frustrating part about that today is we still don't know what the yields are. And maybe they're fine, right? But if we thought this crop was going to be 20 million tons and now it's only 18 million tons, and I still think exports are going to be very strong out of our country, I believe demand is coming back and we're going to see that continue. And then our crushers, we continue to add capacity, right? So I don't think it's out of the question to reduce carryover for next year. And I think that's what's cool about crop marketing is that we're actually getting to a position here where maybe I'm not as frightened of carrying some canola into the spring now of next year. Now, this is a fine dance and a delicate balance and all this stuff because, we have potentially record-setting soybean crop developing here in the U.S. We have Chinese demand is, it's coming now, but it's been slow. The whole U.S. side or soybean side of this thing could be really ugly yet, is what I'm trying to say. Soybeans could, that we're trading at 11 could trade at 9, this fall or this harvest. And so that's not good for canola either. I still see canola making new lows yet this fall. But if you got a third or 30, 40, 50% sold here, your yield maybe is a little lighter than what you thought. Time will tell. I hope it isn't, but it might be. You might be 50, 60% sold. Now, and you just sit tight. You sit back here. And in fact, you're probably looking at this market saying, well, geez, when this thing makes a harvest low, if it is going to go down to 550, well, by golly, gee, I might buy this market. I might buy that call option at that point and buy something into next summer and participate in what could be a tightening canola carryover number. I don't know, folks. I don't know, but I think there's something here brewing. And I got excited last week when the market showed signs of life. I got a little bit drunk on the idea that the canola market was smartening up. And I got sobered up on Friday and again on Monday with the decline. But I do think there's something here. It's just going to take time to develop. And if you're sitting here saying, well, geez, Ryan, I'm not going to sell anything now, but I need to move this in October. No. This is not coming back that fast. This is something Stats Can won't confirm this number until December. December, folks. This is a new year thing. This is 2025, something to put on your calendar for next year for potential upside. I still think you need to be sellers more than anything right now. You still need to sell the rallies, like I said in the last episode. But there's something here, folks, that we're going to pay attention to. I think the market's going lower yet. It's going to be a tough slug going into December. And then, hey, maybe there's a little bit of hope, a little glimpse of something coming. Again, let's just see. Let's see what happens here and what we can do. Okay. Anything else that's cool in crop marketing? Yeah, nothing really stands out. Again, folks, we are losing some of the old crop premiums here that are, if there's anything left, they're very quickly going to pass us right by. I still think that we're going to produce a heck of a wheat crop here across the prairies. Again, we're losing the cherry on top. We're losing a little bit of that top side for sure, but good quality, maybe some protein in this crop now. We'll see. But wouldn't surprise me if we had some protein here as well with this heat. So, hey, I think wheat marketing is still going to be a big, big struggle for folks, and we are going to go lower yet. But hey, as I talked about with Kyle, we can have these harvest rallies as well. And maybe there's something coming here in some of these markets, folks. So let's stay tuned. Let's see. The cool thing is this is recorded and will live in the library, and we can go back and say, hey, this guy actually was onto something back in July of 2024. Hey, this guy was way out to lunch. All right, folks, let's turn it over now. David Lea with Marketplace Commodities. I have a great conversation with him. We cover a whole bunch of different stuff for old crop and new crop. So let's turn it over to David Lea. All right, folks, I've got David Lea with Marketplace Commodities here joining me. Once again, David is a regular on the show. Welcome back to the What the Futures podcast, David. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well, Ryan. Thank you for asking. And it's great to be here with you again. So
it's been a little while since we've chatted, but do you have any July highlights for us? Did you get away at all? Were you just kind of grinding and buying grain, helping farmers empty those bins? Anything stand out?
Yeah, not so much. I know I didn't really get away. I would have probably liked to get away a little more than I did, but July, I would say it ground along. It seemed like most of the month was fairly flat. We had one little kind of price move up for a week there. Canola jumped, I think, what did it get up to? Almost 770 or something like that, 760 maybe.
It was that up to that 670, 680 level. Yeah.
Sorry, 670.
Yeah, giving us some hope there, David.
Yeah, that's right. 670, and then it's kind of giving it all back here now. So these last, over the last maybe week, I would say it's we've really kind of given back everything that it kind of looked for a few days there. There looked like some hope. So it seems like a year and a half that we've been doing this now, that the market's been in kind of an overall downtrend. And, there's been a few times where I thought it would perk up a little, and it's just continually rolled over. So
it fooled me a little bit last week. I'll be honest. I got a little more hopeful last week, which can be dangerous. And of course, Friday was terrible, and today was not a very good day either. We're recording this on Monday, July, 29th. David, from a weather perspective in Lethbridge, you're out of Lethbridge, Alberta. Hot and dry most of the month. Any precipitation events? What'd you guys see?
Very hot and dry in Lethbridge for the majority of the time, 35 to 37 degrees, extended heat periods.
Yeah.
There were some areas like Grassy Lake and Lomond and a few of these areas that did see, the odd inch of rain, surprisingly, which really, really helped the cereal grains. The canola has probably taken the most hit. It was hit with this heat right in the flowering stage down here. So it probably took the most hit. And that's kind of why I thought it might be taking off a little bit here. You know, toward the end of last week, it did cool off. I think what's maybe kind of hurt the Lethbridge market the last few days here is some of the potential yield numbers that we're seeing come in now.
Okay.
Guys are getting into some strips of silage, and they're seeing like 9 to 11 ton.
Okay.
So that, like, one estimate was about 94 bushel to the acre on dry land. That was kind of out near Fort McLeod. Then up near Carmody, I've heard up to maybe potentially 110 bushel to the acre. So we're starting to see that even after the heat, pretty good yield numbers on the cereals, and that's kind of pulled those expectations back down again here, and maybe even from what I'm seeing today, maybe even starting to put in new lows on the bids for sure, not necessarily on the farmer's end of selling at this point. So
sure. Before I jump too far ahead into new crop, I just wanted to ask real quick, and you know, you talk to a lot of growers across the prairies and lots of industry folk. Do you think there's a significant amount of carryover that the farmer's going to hold into 2025, I guess, or did the bins kind of get swept out, or was it, in your opinion, normal business as usual, you know, just normal carryover?
Yeah. Well, for me personally, I mean, they talk about this enormous carry out, and maybe there is some carry out in Saskatchewan. I would say, just from my own experience, the barley that I'm buying, and maybe that's the only stuff that is being sold, is stuff that guys want to get cleaned out of the bins. So maybe my experience is a little bit biased, but I would probably say 90% of the barley that I bought over the last month has been from guys just wanting to clear out the last from their bins.
Yep.
So I haven't had anyone really call in and book, 1,000, 2,000 ton of barley, like old crop barley.
Yeah.
I've had some guys start that took a few new crop positions.
Yep.
With their barley, and even some on their winter wheat. I've seen definitely some winter wheat interest out of kind of that Havre, Kershaw areas down in the States. A lot of the States is really burnt up. Those are kind of your big low protein areas out of the U.S. right now. So yeah, all in all, no, I don't see a huge carry out myself, even though the numbers seem to say that there is. So
yeah, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, and I live in a little bit of a bubble as well, because the growers that I work with, they move everything every year. Like it's very rare for something to be carried over, and in a bearish market pattern that we've had the last, 2 years, it hasn't paid to carry anything over. So I've certainly been preaching that. Okay. So switching back to new crop stuff. So I'm, my experience with hay is in silage is minimal. But, I was chatting with my father-in-law who's, farms in, north of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Anyway, we were out doing some raking and some baling, and, he's been putting up hay the last number of years. And he said, this year is, by far, that first cut was just phenomenal and his biggest in a long, long time. And so, not really impacted by the heat, because it, is ready to cut and bale, right? But I'm curious to see how that translates to some of these earlier harvest crops and some of the cereals as well. Cause I think the wheat crop actually hung on really well. Maybe we didn't get the cherry on top, but we got the sprinkles this year. We definitely got the sprinkles and the frosting, and, but maybe just not the cherry. Right. So, So yeah, I'm curious to see how this kind of plays out. Now, new crop, you got a little bit of activity going on in southern Alberta now, southern Saskatchewan. A couple things going on with harvest.
Well, yeah, like in Lethbridge here, unfortunately, I don't know too much about things up in Saskatchewan, northern Saskatchewan there. Yeah. But I can tell you down here in Lethbridge, like the hardwood spring bids from the elevators are just so low. Like like P&H today was at like $7.11 for number one, 13.5 on hardwood spring. That's like $261 a ton. That's, that's the feed market is actually a little higher than that. Now, I'm sure that they aren't buying a lot of that. So
yeah, 100%.
I'm aware that they're not buying a lot of that, but it shows where the exports are at right now.
Yeah.
And what probably is a workable number. And so, yeah. And then back to your experience on the hay there. We just had one of the guys go down to Idaho over just the end of last week. He traveled down to Idaho, and he said, once you get to about Great Falls, the ditches are just burnt up. Like, it's just burnt up. In fact, I talked to a few U.S. guys today on barley, and they said there could be a lot of malt barley that goes feed this year. It could be really high protein, low test weight, which seems to go in line with what this other guy in the office said. Yeah. He said once you hit the border, then all of a sudden the ditches were green. A lot of them are baled actually already from the first cut, and it looks like it's almost ready for a second cut out of the ditches.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're experiencing, the hay end of it, the silage end of it, everything, even with the heat. I think you're right with your cherry on top analogy. You might have got the sprinkles, but maybe not the cherry on top. But things definitely look quite sprinkled here.
So with that dryness in the U.S. And that heat, because they had that similar heat that you experienced as well, right? In the kind of the northern plains there.
I think maybe even more so. Yeah, I think maybe more so. Yeah.
So do you think that that leads to less crop coming up to Lethbridge, or do you feel like it's not going to have a big impact?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that, and what I think it means is that I think it's an opportunity for the Canadian malt guys. I think there will be more malt that goes down there, and I think that their feed barley, anything that doesn't make malt, which it sounds like could be significant, could come up here. Tonnage-wise, I think it'll probably net out about even, if I had to guess, because anything that's sold off, they'll still demand. So I think tonnage-wise, it'll probably be even. But I think that it's definitely something that a Canadian producer could watch is opportunities for malt heading south with that information. So.
Well, and you already just gave everyone the back haul too, because haul your malt down and bring back some feed. So perfect. Yeah,
exactly. I think that could be a play. Good trade for guys. Yeah.
All right. So when you look at the U.S. and you look at the U.S. as a whole, which is obviously a massive area, but you've got, I actually didn't see the crop ratings this afternoon yet. But you have, folks down there telling me that the corn crop could be a 182 or a 183 or a 184. Last year we saw a lot of corn come up into Canada. With a big yield like that, could we see something similar, or what's your thoughts around the corn?
Well, this is the thing. It's like these here in Feedlot Alley, these guys have an unbelievable amount of options. Could it come up here at these levels? It could. Like the corn is really trading at maybe a $15 to $20 premium today. So I'm not seeing a lot of corn demand or a lot of corn trade. The feedlots certainly prefer to use barley. They prefer to use wheat. They prefer Canadian crops. But I've also seen the U.S. seller become very aggressive, more aggressive than I can usually ever imagine.
Okay.
And I suppose it depends. So I guess that's how I would answer that one is right now, no, I'm not seeing it. I think that there will be some coming up here regardless. I had one of the large line company guys stop by the office just last week here, and we were chatting about it, and he told me that they'll be bringing some up for sure. They're not just going to cut it all off.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a little bit that will trade. I'm not sure if it'll be a real profitable position for them or not, but they're not going to put the brakes on it all.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, I'm seeing very limited amounts. Feedlots seem to be focused on the barley and on the wheat. Mind you, they're trading at about a $15 to $20 discount where corn is at, which is almost what they need to do. I know it doesn't sound great, but it's almost what they need to do to push that corn back and keep that corn back in the U.S.
Okay. All right. So we've talked a little bit about corn. We've talked a little bit about the barley situation in the U.S. What about the wheat market? If we want to zone in on that for a second, you brought up the point that feed wheat and number 113.5 are trading at the same level or similar levels. Feed wheat maybe a slight premium even. One of those is not going to last. One of those is going to make a move up or down. And I have a sneaking suspicion that I'd guess the feed wheat's making its move instead, but, and lower. But, what are you thinking on the wheat, side of this right now? And, are you expecting a decent wheat crop as well?
Definitely. I think that, in our area again, what were they seeing here? Like in some of the drier areas down in the States, they were looking at 20 bushels to the acre. Some of the little better areas, 40, and then some of the really good areas, even higher numbers than that, by a fair amount. Our area, I think that we're probably on the high end of all those numbers. All the way through. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I'm seeing the farmer quite resistant at these levels. I don't like when I say that P&H was at 7.11. Again, I don't think that's the price it's trading at. I think it's trading closer to 8 here in Lethbridge.
Okay.
We had to fill a little bit of our own. We have a small elevator just over by Fort McLeod that we do some export with, just container loaded stuff. And I believe today I had to pay, basically up to about $8.10 a bushel to buy anything. So gives you a little idea of where I think the market is really at versus what they're thinking. But that being said, the bids on barley, which is, you can usually take whatever barley's at and add maybe $5 a ton, and that's what the wheat bid will be for feed wheat. Mm-hmm. And today I've kind of seen that slip. Well, last week it had jumped almost up to like a 270, 275 for nearby movement. Well, it's slipped to about 265 to start the day. Then by about mid-morning, the bids were more like 260 if you could find a bid. And now I would say that they've really slipped even under that into the 250s realistically, delivered Lethbridge on barley. Okay. So that almost brings that feed wheat price right in line with what the P&H bid was. So, with them both, like you say, trading almost at a par with one another, if you're talking odds, which one has the better chance of making the stand here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime wheat comes into the feed market, it's really not a good thing for the feed market because there's just so much more wheat grown than barley, and it can just flood the market so quickly. So generally speaking, the wheat has to, a wheat bid has to come into line somewhere, which generally puts a little more pressure on barley.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the harvest low myself quite yet. on it.
Oh, 100%. I don't think we have either. And, you're 8 to 8.10, that's old crop, and I saw $8 trigger at G3 in central Saskatchewan, up in Melfort, they're posting a special at $7.55 at the Viterra there, but,
okay. Yeah.
So it's that high 7s to 8 to clean up the rest of old crop. And if you're listening to this podcast, folks, that it's going to be released on July 31st. It's like an old crop, wrap up. Don't sit on this because the price is going to drop. Even actually on August 1st, for many companies, the price drops 50 cents just because it's new crop in the new marketing year. So folks, if you're listening, pick up the phone here and get the old crop wheat sold soon. Yeah. Very soon. Yeah. Like right now.
Yeah. If you can get high 7 or low 8 on it and you're going to need the bin room, I would, if it was me, I would be moving that off for sure.
Oh, 100%. David, the problem we have here is, the storyline of the Russian wheat issue and the frost events and all that, that's all behind us now. And it's an 80-some million ton crop, and it can still shift a little bit here and there with weather and all that type of stuff. But that story that rallied us is in the rearview mirror. And then the Americans are growing a phenomenal spring wheat crop this year, one of their best crops ever. Yeah. And so you may have pockets of issues like we always see, and same thing across the prairies. We've got great spots and not so good, but there's a really good wheat crop that we're going to harvest here in the Northern Hemisphere. Even Australia's improved. I know the French crop, we all want to pick on the French crop, and it's getting worse, but it's 40-some% harvested. I don't know, it's not a new story for us to jump on. So yeah. No, you don't want to take your family out for the picnic when the storm clouds are in the distance. I mean, it might miss you. Yep. Yeah.
But you don't want to be sitting out there when the rain starts to come in hard. So
yeah, no, for sure. All right. So what else do we have here? Covered lots of stuff right so far. Are you concerned at all about quality across the prairies? Like we talked a little bit about the US, but I saw a yellow pea sample on Twitter yesterday from southern Saskatchewan. It's yellow peas, but it's got a bunch of greens in it. And the comments were it was due to the heat and the lack of moisture here when that crop finished off, that the greens were pretty much locked in. It looked pretty nasty. But are you thinking any quality wise on our stuff so far? Nothing to be concerned about, I would think, but what do you think?
So far, I don't know. I have my doubts that a month of 35-degree weather, I suppose anything's possible. I don't know for sure. From what I've heard thus far, I think in our area here, it looks pretty good. There were a few areas that didn't get any rain through the whole thing. And yeah, sure. There could be definitely some concern there. Quite a few of the areas around us got at least a half inch in there. Okay. We had a few storms come through, no hail. So on peas and things like that, I haven't heard, they were really calling for these major hailstorms to come through.
Yeah.
I really didn't hear of any major, major hailstorms that came through this area, large ones that we've seen in some of these past years. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean it still can't happen, but, that's what I'm maybe guessing is those peas that you're talking about maybe saw some hail, perhaps. So thus far, I can't say that I've heard, anything that would make me think that we're in for some sort of a disaster on the quality. I really can't see it.
No, yeah, and that's good. It's it's harvest. We have a huge couple months ahead of us. Anything can happen, but I'm with you. I think quality's it's going to be okay so far. Anything, we got 24 crop here is our main thing to talk about, but for the fall of 2025, like if I wanted to go plant some like winter wheat or some fall rye or something here in the next, 6 weeks or or whenever the ideal time is to plant those crops. Any bids worth mentioning that far out, or is it pretty quiet?
That unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to really advise on too much. I don't have anything that far out because I'm mainly in the feed market. I don't trade that far out. That'd probably be a better question for one of your like line company type guys.
Sure.
I'm just really not sure at all on that.
All right, I've got one last one for you because I just had this question come through as we were recording. So this gentleman asks, he's out of Irma, Alberta, and he's wondering about moving barley, feed barley in the fall. So his question is, should I move my feed barley, majority of it in the fall, or does it make sense to bag it or pile it and store it into the new year? So my question is, what's the carry look like in the feed barley market right now?
So right now, the bids were running roughly like most of today for August and September into Lethbridge at around $260 per ton, roughly.
Okay.
That went up to probably, like, if you went all the way out, the maximum amount of carry. And this was a lot different last week. It was actually a fair bit higher. It kind of had that little bit of a spike, or, last week, maybe just the tail end of the week before, but it's kind of slipped a little here. So your carry all the way up to like next June, July, you're probably looking at like a 275 out there today.
Okay.
So it may be a $15 carry. So into like October, November, December, there might be like a $5 carry over like the 260. So
yep.
Is a $5 carry enough? I think it really comes down to a guy's bin space. Like I say, my own opinion is right now the market seems to be almost trying to make another leg down.
Yeah.
So I would, if it was me personally, and I was looking at a bin space issue, I would definitely try and have this moved off in, before the new crop is coming. I don't see it really making it a significant turnaround. Like, I think your rallies and like a lot of these feedlots that I'm talking to, they have incredibly good crops coming themselves.
Yeah.
Like they grow a lot of stuff. And so, they may actually get quite a ways through your
decent coverage
with their own coverage.
Yeah.
So that's why I would hesitate trying to play the waiting game. Like, the waiting game has worked great over the last 3-4 years for sure. Binning it and bagging it. This year, I don't know if it's such a good play myself. I don't think I would.
Well,
I think it'd be a risky play.
I would say, like, if I'm farming, or if I even think about our own farm, we're probably, maybe on canola now we're in a bit of a wait and see. If I'm going to store something, I might want to, try to figure out what damage, if there was damage from this dryness and this heat, how did it impact that canola crop? So I'm probably sitting on my hands a little bit there, but on anything that is related to corn, anything any cereal, really, like, I don't know. I'm a seller all day long. I just don't see a lot of promise there until anything can happen in the next growing season. But if it's like between now and like March, April, and money's still expensive. So,
right.
Not interest rates are coming down, but it's still, lines of credit are still pretty expensive. Yeah. Yeah.
That canola is nice for the cash flow when the price is up, right? That would be my sentiment exactly. If I was going to bin anything, I might try that one. Hold a little of that and maybe try and catch that on one of its, its nice run-ups that it does, and it can happen quickly. And I think you're right. I think that it did take a hit. Like from what I can just personally see of the crops,
yeah,
I do think the canola took a hit. So I think it's undervalued right now myself.
Yeah.
On the barley and things. So if I'm looking at canola versus barley, and I've got a bit of barley left, and I'm struggling for bin room, the barley would be going for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, here too. Okay, cool. And hey, like barley still has a 5 in front of it, it still has a 5. Like, man, it wasn't that many years ago where, I remember when feed barley got to $4 and how excited I was at $4. Yeah. So, it's sad. So sad.
Unfortunately, it could go there again. I think I might have mentioned this before, but my last experience with this was back in about 2012, where I remember it was the first time that I had ever traded $300 a ton on barley. It was May, and I traded $300 a ton on barley, and I couldn't believe it. And by that fall, we were back at almost $200 a ton. I think it was about $205 a ton in barley, and I was like, wow. Well, I never saw $300 a ton again until 2020, 8 years later.
Yep.
So these things, they can take quite a while to go sideways. Everyone thinks that the market has to go up or it has to go down. They forget that it can go sideways for a long time. So
yeah, it can. All right, David. Well, I appreciate your time here at the end of July. We're switching gears to new crop. So yeah, appreciate you jumping on the show, and have a great rest of the summer here. I'm sure we'll connect before summer's over, but keep me in mind when you get that trade figured out with the malt down and the feed coming up. All right.
Sounds really good, Ryan. Thanks. Appreciate your time. You bet.
Thanks. All right, folks, we're just about at the tail end of the episode here, episode 37. We've got the Pioneer Seeds mailbag to go through here, and then our Eating Your Veggie segment, and then we could wrap it up. So let's get to that. Now, a couple weeks ago, I had recorded a segment about what do crop marketing advisors cost. And it looks like, in when I went back, it looks like we kind of cut that in the episode. So I wanted to take another run at it here, because I had a farmer ask me, hey, Ryan, what do crop marketing advisors cost? Like, what do these folks, what's the cost to engage with them? And I just wanted to say, I won't talk about this for very long. But there's different levels of service, right? So there's just like, email me stuff. Email me old news that's out there that's maybe a day old or whatever. There's a bunch of those, a couple $100, you get a bunch of old news. And I don't play on that lightly. Like, it's still important stuff. It's not forward thinking per se. It's just yesterday's news. You all get them. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. And then from there, you've got the ones that come out with some forward thinking stuff, some recommendations. They're blanketing 10% sale across an entire region. Maybe they've got zones. They're not super specific. Those might be like $1,000 or something like that. And it's just a guideline, like, hey, here's some forward thinking stuff. Here's some recommendations, something for you to read and maybe take action on. And then you have the ones that are out there, and the Lunchbox crew kind of falls into this, but a little bit more interactive. And they're, $2, $3, $4 grand. Lunchbox crew's about $4,000 a year. And those guys, you can ask them a couple of questions. They might actually call you out of the blue and say, hey, we're looking at this, you talked about this 2 weeks ago. We're just wanted to follow up, make sure you got the sale done or whatever. And those guys, again, they're in the low thousands. They don't come to your farm. They, they may not get back to you the fastest either when you do have a question. And they work with lots of different people. They work with lots of farms. And then you start to get to the level now, the next service level, where you may have an advisor that's watching over your farm, and they could be $5, $6, $8,000, something like that. But they don't come out to your farm. You don't see them in person. They might do Zoom meetings, online stuff. They might host a few workshops, invite you to them. throughout the year. They might call you up and say, hey, we have a sale recommendation. I noticed you're 40% sold, here you go. They kind of, they're keeping a closer eye on you. They might work with, 40 or 50 customers instead. They'll keep a close eye on you and they'll reach out a bit more proactively. Yeah. And those guys are in the low thousands, right? Like, or mid. Yeah. I don't know how to say it, but let's say like $8,000, $7,500, $8,000. And then you have the people that will drive out to your farm, they'll interact with the industry, get a really good ground or base, understanding of your local bids and help you execute, grab premiums, stuff like that, help you make a delivery plan, a delivery schedule. They might do some data entry for you as well. Again, they're coming out and meeting with you regularly, maybe once a month or once every couple months. And those guys, they're going to cost you $10,000, $12,000, $20,000, depending on your acres and time. And that's kind of what they cost. And there's a bunch of them out there as well. Some of the bigger firms out there and a bunch of individual folks like Kyle from a few weeks ago. He would fall in there too and works with farms individually and sees them in person. So yeah, I thought that was like really kind of a cool question to ask, and I hope that helps. One of the big firms there put a big canola recommendation out on Friday, and I just had to think, like, you're asking people to move to 60% sold on a day that the market drops like $30 a ton, and everyone's probably already, if they were following your advice, to 50% sold. They're probably already 60% sold just based on yield reduction. And I just thought of the stones that you'd have to put that recommendation out there to be like, we're moving to 60%. I know the market's down $30, but buckle up. We're doing this. Oh man. Hey, it might be the best call of the year. I just was kind of laughing like, wow. Yeah. Anyway, the stones. Okay. Next question. What do I do with the rest of my old crop wheat? It's a number 115 protein. Well, if it was just a number 113.5, I'd say sell, like move this stuff out. And that's probably still what you should do. But what's just getting me a little bit curious on this one is, what the heck is protein going to be worth in a couple weeks here? And when I think about the heat and I think about how this crop year is finishing up, I just wonder if there is going to be more protein there. But the world is short of protein, flush with low protein, low quality wheat. And I just wonder, like, what could a 115 be worth? Is it worth gambling a little bit on this to see, hey, what could this look like? And what I would do is I would take this wheat, a 115, and I would allocate it and say, can I apply it against a contract? So follow me here. So if I have a September contract, I sold wheat for $8 back in the day or whatever. I've locked it in as a 113.5, 213, doesn't matter. But all of a sudden the harvest, the samples start coming in, low protein. And then you start to see, like, you got to remember, folks, protein premiums, they used to be 5 cents a tenth, 6 cents a tenth, 7 cents a tenth. All of a sudden you got $1 or $2 of protein here. And I would just apply it against that September contract. So if you have that available to you, I'd be like, let's watch these spreads as they change. If there's something to grab, deliver that wheat, capture that premium. To just take it and store it and say, I'm going to blend it off with new crop, I don't know if that makes sense yet. Unfortunately, I won't know till it's too late. And then again, if it wasn't 15 protein, I'd say just sell the darn thing and move on. But I'm just a little curious. I don't know how it's going to play out yet, but we'll be smarter in a month. All right. Last question in the Pioneer Seeds mailbag. What are some, how would you market barley, feed barley? Would you sell it? Would you pile it? Is there a reason to keep it back? And so David, kind of answers that, a few minutes ago here as well. I brought it up to him there. But again, folks, interest rates are high still. Money is expensive. Are there any clear signs for barley to be bullish? To me, no. And as David said, when feed wheat starts to work into the market, when wheat starts to work into the feed market, that gets a little bit dangerous as well. So I like getting the feed barley sold and moved here. Again, you're all individuals. You have your own farm and your own plans. But man, if someone offered me just a little bump up here of price, I'd be a happy seller and moving on. And again, maybe I store a little more canola instead, or maybe there's a pulse or something you can store instead. I don't know, but I don't like holding on to that feed barley. Again, if you're listening to this episode in mid-August, prices have already fallen apart, and you're probably storing it and holding it, but the decision's going to be made for you in the next couple of weeks is what's going to happen. But I would be a seller and be more proactive. Get that barley, feed barley gone. Malt barley, we're going to do what David said. We're going to ship our malt down to America here and get a nice big premium for it. That's what I'm doing. All right. So buckle up, Lunchbox crew. That's what we're going to do. All right. Eating Your Veggies segment, of course, brought to you by the Lunchbox crew. Head to ryandenny.ca to check out how we can work together and collaborate. Now, the crew it's a closed group right now. We're not going to open that up until November. But hey, there's still other ways to collaborate. So you can go and reach out to me via the website there. So just a couple things, 3 things for this week. Number 1, sell your old crop wheat. Unless you're 15 protein guy, other than that, sell that wheat. Sell your old crop, folks. Stop waiting here. It's going to get rough. So make sure you get your bin swept out. Number 2, match your sales, new crop sales, with your cash flow needs. I know it's vacation time right now before harvest, but match them up. Do I have enough cash in contracts to get through, and for how long? Because you're going to want to be covered off to Christmas. You're going to want the money to buy your kids Christmas presents. You want that on a contract now, because it's going to be tough going between now and whenever the harvest lows are made, and then us trying to dig our way out of that. It's going to take time. You want to make sure you got all your cash covered off heading into the new year. Make sure you got those contracts in place. Make sure you know your percent sold. Make sure that the cash is aligned. Because if you call me in November and say, Ryan, I need money, I got to sell something, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. It's not going to be good. Okay? So get after it. Get ahead of it. And the third thing, I want you to make contact with your grain buyers. Okay? And I even try to see who some of these niche buyers are. Maybe someone you haven't done business with for a little bit. Get on their radar. Because when we have tough times in crop marketing, more options, the better. Maybe you need to rekindle old relationships. Maybe a buyer, didn't treat you very well in the drought of 2021, so you walked away for a few years. It might be worthwhile to just say, hey, let's talk again. Let's help each other out here, because in bullish markets, you know how it is, folks. The buyers are phoning you and you're telling them, take a hike. I don't need you. Markets are going higher. It's a cycle, right? And the buyers are scrambling, trying to buy stuff, and nobody wants to sell it to them. Well, now we have the opposite. All right. So you're going to want to sell it to them. You're going to want them to buy it from you. And even if I don't know what buyers are into these days, if you can go and have a coffee with them, or, I used to farms, not many, but I went out for lunch with a couple farms at times, and just as a buyer, it was kind of nice, and it just got us on the same page. And David said it a while back and a couple months ago, but there's opportunities arise where you're like, okay, there's a premium here as a buyer. There's something that happens, and I've got 200 people on my list. How do you put yourself in the conversation to be the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? What can you do? And so now you got to be the salesperson here a little bit. You gotta, try a few different tricks here, become friends with these folks. Well, maybe not friends, but just get on their radar somehow. And so that's the third thing in eating your veggies this week, is reach out to those folks, reach out to those new, maybe someone you haven't done business with for a while. Heck, folks, we know this industry rotates so fast. You probably have a whole wave of new buyers you haven't met yet. Yeah, make contact with them and then see where that goes, but get on their radar. You got to be the salesperson now, because the crop it's not as big as we thought, but still pretty big. And markets are still in a downtrend. Okay. All right, folks, if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend, friend, neighbor, colleague, someone in your local ag community. Spread the word. Our YouTube numbers have popped up, which is nice. Podcast listens, they're just happening a lot faster than they were before. Again, we're not Joe Rogan here, but Western Canada's. I'm not saying that Western Canada is taking a little bit of notice, but if you're enjoying the show, please pass it on. It's rewarding for me. Prices can change. If we talked about any prices today, just remember that they change. Recordings are done. Episodes are sent out usually 2 days later. Just remember that. Again, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, we are starting to create our roster for season 2 of What the Futures. If you want to be on the roster, maybe you want to be a regular contributor, maybe you want to be a sponsor, now is the time, because we only have a couple spots really for people to join us. We're keeping it to a pretty tight show here, and even on the sponsorship side, keeping it nice and tight as well. Don't have a lot of capacity. And so you can connect Ryan, whatthefuturespodcast.ca, or head to the website, ryanjanie.ca. Have a good rest of your day. I'm out.